Hey guys, it's Ginny Silver. There is less than 1 week remaining before California recall election ballots are due to be cast for the California gubernatorial recall election. The question of whether or not to recall Governor Gavin Newsom is a topic that impacts the majority of my subscribers here on YouTube. As a channel who is comprised primarily of California residents who have been financially impacted due to the pandemic, I want to provide you with some non-biased, just the facts information regarding the California recall election. I also want to impart to you the importance to make sure that regardless of your opinion, whether you're voting yes or no in the recall election, or whether you have a particular candidate of choice, I want to make sure that you understand the importance of submitting your ballot and voting on both questions by the September 14th deadline. California is one of 19 states that allows voters to remove state officials before the end of their term. No reason is necessary, and the only requirement to put a recall on the ballot is enough voter signatures. The Secretary of State certified on July 1st that recall supporters submitted 1,719,900 valid signatures, more than enough to trigger a recall election. In the state of California, trying to recall an elected official is common. However, being successful with the recall election is not. Since 1911, there have been 55 attempts to recall a California governor. The only California governor to ever be recalled and the second governor nationwide to be recalled was Governor Gray Davis. In 2003, Governor Gray Davis was recalled when 55% of voters voted yes on the recall ballot. The unusual thing about a California recall election is that there is no limit on the number of candidates who can run to replace an official on a recall ballot, and whoever gets the most votes wins, even without obtaining a majority. This means that it's entirely possible that someone could be elected in a recall while still winning less than half of the votes. In the 2003 recall election, 135 candidates ran, and the winner, Arnold Schwarzenegger, received only 48.6% of the vote. This is important to note because if the majority of California voters vote in favor of recalling Governor Gavin Newsom, the candidate receiving the most number of votes would then become the next governor of the state of California, even if they do not hold a majority. This is why it is incredibly important that you do answer question number 2 on your recall ballot. Your vote will still be counted, and it is not a requirement to vote on both parts of the recall ballot. However, it is important to note that if you do not voice an opinion on an alternative candidate, you will have no second chance to voice your opinion should the governor be recalled. So how much does a recall election cost, and who pays for it? Local officials from across California estimate the cost of conducting the election could run as high as $400 million, although the State Department of Finance estimated the cost of the recall election at $276 million. This price tag will be paid by the taxpayers. The state has set aside $250.2 million to fund the recall election. This money will mostly fund county election agencies for printing ballots, setting up voting sites, and processing votes. In addition to the state funding of the recall election, donors also spent tens of millions on campaigning. Pro and anti-recall forces have no caps on their fundraising. Cal Matters reports that as of September 3, 2021, $78.1 million has been raised specifically through fundraisers for the recall election. The top pro-recall contributions by industry include the building industry, retail and restaurants, insurance and finance, ideological advocacy groups, and oil, gas, and utilities. The top anti-recall contributions by industries include other unions, healthcare unions, media, entertainment, and telecom, building trades, and insurance and finance. The top pro-recall contributors include Jeff Palmer, Elder for Governor 2021, Proverbs 3:9 LLC, and Mike Huckabee. The top anti-recall contributors include the Democratic Governors Association, Reed Hastings, California Democratic Party, and Dignity California. Those who are for the recall submitted a petition that cited the state's high taxes, homelessness crisis, and the governor's position on issues such as immigration and the death penalty as reasons for recall. But their reasons have evolved as the pandemic has continued. In the final months of signature gathering, much of the argument was over the closure of small businesses and schools, as well as the vaccine rollout. Also prominent amongst the issues of concern is the state's problematic unemployment department, which during the pandemic paid out an immense volume of fraudulent claim, suffers from outdated technology, and has left hundreds of thousands of claimants without their benefits. Alternatively, those against the recall voiced that while they may not be in support of all of Newsom's actions or his shortcomings as a governor in general, they are strongly opposed to things such as the high cost of taxpayer dollars to fund the election, the likely replacement candidate of Newsom's highest polling contender, Larry Elder, or the shift in general to a Republican governor. Those against the recall fear that a new governor could reshape California for decades to come through the use of executive orders to roll back environmental protections, criminal justice reform, the social safety, as well as significant changes in the state's approach to the pandemic. A recent poll put out by the Public Policy Institute of California was published on September 3rd. The findings showed that Californians named COVID as the top issue facing the state today, followed by jobs in the economy, homelessness, housing costs and availability, and problems with elected officials. Today, on September 10th, the Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies released their most recent poll surrounding the California recall election. This poll was taken between dates August 30th through September 6th amongst a set of almost 10,000 registered voters. The poll results show that among likely voters, 60% said that they would be voting no in the recall election in order to retain the governor, while 38.5% said that they would be voting yes and would seek to recall him. The poll results showing 60% in support of Governor Gavin Newsom shows an increase of 9% from the previously released Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies poll, which was released back on July 27th. However, on September 14th, when recall ballots are to be cast, if the governor is in fact recalled, who would be the most likely candidate to replace him? This poll shows Larry Elder polling in first place with 38% of the vote, followed by Kevin Pathrath at 10%. Updates on the status of your ballot, you can access that at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. If you are still in need of locating a drop box for your ballot, you can locate that on sos.ca.gov/elections/polling-place. Be sure to drop off your ballot by 8 p.m. on September 14th. Regardless of your opinion, whether you are voting yes or no in the recall election, I want to make sure that you understand the importance of submitting your ballot by September 14th and answering both questions. Okay, you guys, I hope that was helpful. Please click like, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below.